Imagine finishing a full shift, you get home and you just immediately clock in for another job. You check your mirrors, follow the speed limit if you feel like it, stop for fuel, and spend the next hour hauling frozen fish across Europe. And somehow you found this relaxing. Euro Truck Simulator 2 launched in 2012, and by normal gaming standards it should have become a nostalgic memory years ago. Instead, in February 2026, it reached a new all-time high of roughly 74,000 concurrent players on Steam. It still does receive major updates and new regions to sell, and hundreds of thousands of players have left overwhelmingly positive reviews. But why are people still playing a 14-year-old truck game, and why do they keep paying for more roads? On paper, Euro Truck Simulator 2 is almost aggressively unexciting. You drive, you park, you sleep, you refuel, and then you do that all over again just so you can park somewhere else. And there's no campaign constantly pushing you forward, there's no battle pass threatening to disappear, and there's no competitive rank demanding that you stay sharp. Even as progression is simple, you take jobs, earn money, eventually you buy a truck and hire drivers, and you just watch your company become rich enough that money does not matter anymore. And age is visible everywhere. The traffic AI can make decisions that feel personally insulting, even to somebody like me who doesn't have a driver's license, and the police system is basic. The world often looks busy without actually feeling alive. So the economy is more of a power fantasy than a business simulation, and the core driving loop has not changed in 14 years. So that should be a recipe for boredom, and for a lot of players sometimes it is. But Euro Truck Simulator 2 did not simply hold on to a small group of truck enthusiasts. Its biggest Steam player peak arrived more than 14 years later after its initial release. The Steam store still shows overwhelmingly positive recent reviews and not only praise left from 2012. So the developers are still treating the game like an active platform rather than a completed product. With updates like Update 1.40, rebuilding the lighting, Update 1.41 added Convoy, and free reworks have replaced aging parts of Germany, Austria and Switzerland, while Benelux and the UK are being rebuilt as well. And in 2026, Update 1.60 was still improving interior materials, rust mechanics, and basic interface information. So it's not really an update history of a game being kept alive by a single intern with a dusty laptop. But that also does not mean that the journey has been smooth. As newer map expansions became more detailed, the oldest parts of the game started looking like they belong to a different generation. For a new player, the quality gap can make the world feel less like Europe and just more like several games stitched together. So SCS can respond with free map reworks, but those do take years, and by the time one region is rebuilt, the other starts showing its age. The real reason people return is not hidden inside of a truck specification sheet. ETS2 has become something that modern games are just strangely bad at being: comfortable. You can leave this game for 6 months or even more, and you return back without having to study a new meta. You don't need to remember a story, rebuild a character, or catch up with a season. All you have to do is remember 7 key binds and you're good to go. You choose a delivery, put on music, a podcast, or just something to watch, and let the world create structure around it. The game gives your hands just enough to do while leaving your brain enough room to breathe. A missed turn is inconvenient, not catastrophic, and a bad delivery just costs imaginary money in an economy where you probably own 13 garages.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills. But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? Knowledge.
There's a job where your boss can't call the train, the customer cannot complain, and the world's colleague on the road is usually just the AI trained to guess the back of your trailer. And that low-stakes rhythm turns driving into ritual. For some people it is sightseeing, for others it is background activity, but for many it is simply just how they unwind after work. And when the official game becomes too familiar, the community changes it. The Steam Workshop adds trucks, trailers, sounds, and quality of life changes. Larger projects also expand and reshape the map. Truckers MP created the social world long before official multiplayer arrived, and Convoy later offered a simpler way to drive with friends. So the developers didn't only build a game, it built a foundation that other people could keep finishing in their own way. And that's why players can have completely different versions of Euro Truck Simulator 2, where one wants a vanilla career, and the other is like me, where you want realistic traffic, seasons, new companies, map expansions, and also enough graphics mods to turn every update into a compatibility crisis. So nothing says, long-term commitment like spending an evening repairing a mod folder just so you can relax for like 20 minutes. And the friction is real, but this variety mods let the game age sideways, not through one official version, but through thousands of personal versions of the same road trip. And that brings us to the strangest part of the game's longevity. People are still buying map expansions for a game release in 2012. And it's not just because another country transforms the driving model, it usually doesn't. You're just accepting a job and following the GPS just like everywhere else. What changes is the place where that routine happens. A strong map expansion gives players new landscapes, cities, industries, and road designs without having to ask them to abandon their profile, trucks, and habits built over hundreds of hours. It extends a familiar world instead of replacing it. And the other product being sold is trust. Players have watched the developers support the game through free updates, licensed trucks, multiplayer graphical updates, and base map reworks. And from the player side, the deals feel simple. You paid regions expand the world while the entire platform keeps moving forward. That does not make the DLC model perfect. The complete collection is intimidating, and older regions can look weak beside newer ones. And some players are frustrated by price and how often maps arrive before deeper systems, but the DLC rarely feels like an exit fee from an unfinished game. It feels like another destination in a world people already consider home. This is also where the developers have to be careful. Longevity is not the same thing as progress. A larger map cannot forever hide shallow company management, predictable traffic, and a world with limited interaction. Free reworks are generous, but they also reveal how uneven the game has become. New visual systems help, but the engine still carries the expectation of a modern simulator on foundations built long ago. And if every major release is another place to drive rather than a new reason to care about the act of driving, even loyal players can become bored. The game has survived because the developers move carefully, and this next challenge is proving that careful does not have to mean static. So why is everyone still playing Euro Truck Simulator 2? It's not because it's the most advanced simulator, and definitely not because every update is revolutionary, and it's definitely not because of the AI finally learning self-preservation. People return to the game because it stopped being a game they needed to finish and became a place they knew how to return to. SCS has kept the place moving with updates, modders keep reshaping it, while friends turned it into social space, and every new expansion gave the same familiar ritual to a different horizon. So 14 years later, the game is still old, still flawed, and somehow it is still growing. Euro Truck Simulator 2 is not surviving because the road never ends, it is surviving because the road keeps changing just enough to make one more delivery worth it. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, do leave a like, subscribe, it does mean a lot to me. And as always, good luck in the game.